everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Nicole with Made from Scrap, and today I am going to share with you the walkthroughs of my little micro mini album and my little mini album. And I will also share with you a fun little paper fold for a cute little pocket. And all of this fits right in the mini bookshelf that I already made. This is for the design team package that I received from Country Craft Creations. I'm using the Curator and Curator collection from Graphic 45. And after I do this walkthrough, I will share the tutorials for both of these. So make sure that you jot down with pencil the measurements that I will be sharing as we go along. So the last thing is, in the description box below, I will have links. Those are affiliate links to Country Craft Creations, and it doesn't cost you anything more, but it does give me a fun little kickback to my page. So this beautiful ribbon is what I used to keep this little micro mini album closed. This measures 3 1/4 inches wide by 4 1/4 inches tall, and the spine is 3 1/8 inches wide. This is the back. And so when you open this up, you'll see that it fits here the 3x4 cards from the collection, and I just put those in the front. Isn't that darling? So we have this little pocket here that those slide right in, and then the first page is a pocket page. So we have this. I used my envelope punch board. You don't have to do that, but this has a fun little journaling spot or a little micro spot for photos. I've also used the honey gold color of the mirror cardstock from Tonic Studios, also available at Country Craft Creations, and so that just slips right in there. This is one of the chipboard pieces with the collection. Then you flip this over. On the back side of this front page, you have a little ribbon closure here, and I just love this paper. If you can dream it, you can do it. So this opens up just like so. There's a little flap there, and then this opens like this as well. I did a fun little cut here in the paper collection with my X-Acto blade, just so that I could tuck a little something in there. And this is just a little piece from the collection that I cut down. And then when we flip this over to the second page, it is also a fun little pocket. We have one little tag that I've put in here, and when you flip this over again, you reveal a little tie for a flap page, and this opens just like so, and then it opens this way as well. So isn't this collection cute? And then on the back we have another little pocket, and I just kept 2 of these journaling cards together from the cut apart sheet, and then I just scored it right down the middle, and you have a fun little spot to journal on, and that goes right there. So that is the micro album. And then the other album, it measures 4 1/4 inches wide by 6 1/4 inches tall. I used that foil, that mirror cardstock, the honey gold on the back side. I used one of the journaling cards for the top layer, and then I just stitched around it. Here are some of the flowers from my design team package. This is the Prima flowers, and this is part of that. Does it say? I thought it was part, yeah, Return to Wonderland is what it's called. I used some more of the chipboard pieces from the chipboard and tags and frames from Curator and Curator there. And then this is the black Charlotte's lace that I've used. This is the 1/8 inch ribbon here that I used at the top of these tags. And then I just used my hole punch and cut out a piece of that mirror cardstock for the center of that flower. I peeled off a couple of the layers of the rose just to give it a little bit different of a look. This is the spine. It is a 1-inch spine. And then here is the back. Very pretty. So when you open this up, you have the chipboard piece here on the front, and again you have a pocket right on the front cover, and this one fits 4x6 journaling cards. So you can see that one that I've cut down, and then I have a nice little photo mat there. Okay, on the first page of the album, I've used this double-sided satin ribbon. It is golden champagne, and I just tied it into a nice little bow here. I have a piece of the cut apart from the collection here that I just ruffled the edges and glued down in 2 spots to make it a little tuck spot here. This is a piece of the decorative paper that I folded in half, and then I used a little thin little strip of that gold mirror cardstock there. And this piece right here opens up. It is a fun flap, so it opens up this way, and then it also opens this way. And here, this base page is also a pocket page, so we have this fun little pull out. Isn't this paper gorgeous? And there's the back. So you can either slip in one of the pieces or both thicknesses into that pocket page, but we'll turn that over, and this is the back. And then on the second page, we have just a fun little tuck spot that I created with the chipboard piece. Again, this is a piece from the collection. Here is the flap that I have. So again, this is a pull out from the top, and then here is the back. And this is just the little pocket page here. So we'll tuck that in there. And that goes there underneath. And then this also flips over. On the back side of the page, we have another flap here. So I've used another chipboard piece, and this flap is also a pocket. So it has this fun little pocket insert on there. Okay, that just slides right in here. And then when you flip this up, I have used another little tag from the chipboard collection. This is underneath, and then it opens up like so. Okay, and that's our second page. And then on the back of the cover of the album, I just used one of the chipboard pieces. I hot glued it onto a little paper clip, and I used a 1-inch circle punch for the paper collection, just punched out a little circle to cover that up. And I'm holding that closed. This is a fun little flip here. It comes out like this. I have a little pocket here for some little doodads, just some little journaling spots there. And this is the back side of that. So then this just holds it closed. We do have a little gusset on this piece, just so you have a little bit of space for that paper clip. And then that is the back. And so this is really fun, and let's get started. Let me set this aside. Let's get started with the tutorial. We're going to start first with the larger of the two, which is the mini album. I have 2 pieces of cardstock that measure 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 inch, and then I have a spine piece that measures 1 inch by 6 1/4 inches. I am going to use 2 pieces of cardstock that measure 6 1/4 inches wide by 8 1/4 inches tall, and then I'm going to use, let's see, I'm dropping stuff on the floor, but I'm going to use my little spacers here to give myself some space for my chipboard pieces to lay down. So I already put double-sided tape on the back of these, so that way I can just lay it up against those spacers, and voila, I have one piece down. I'll do the other cover. These are 1-inch spacers. If you don't have these acrylic pieces, I will link these. I got these from Country Craft Creations, but you can also cut a couple of strips of chipboard piece and use that as well. Okay, next I'm going to swap out that 1-inch piece for a 1.5-inch piece there, and I'm going to grab a piece of cardstock that measures 4 inches wide by 8¼ inches tall, and that is for my little spine piece. So let me take the backing off of my double-sided tape, and we're going to go ahead and set that down in the center, just like that. We have our 2 pieces of chipboard for the covers and our spine. So let me go ahead and put this together real quick. I'm going to use the lay flat binding method, and I will put a link to that video in the description box below. I will be right back. Okay, now I have my little album together, and I'm going to take my next piece, which is for the inside cover, and this measures 3 inches by 6 1/8 inch, and I'm going to place it right here on the inside. So I'm going to place glue on my spine, and I'm going to go ahead and glue this down, burnishing it. Just place that in the middle, and then I'm going to go ahead and burnish either side here. Glue those wings down. Just like that. Okay. Next, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my scoreboard, and we're going to go ahead and start scoring our next pieces. So make sure that you grab something to write with and a piece of paper, and that way you can write down all these measurements. First, we're going to start with our hinge. Now the hinge measures 1½ inches by 6 inches, and with the 1½ inch at the top, we're going to go ahead and score that at 1/2 inch and 1 inch. Okay. This is just going to be 2 hinges for us because we only have 2 pieces of paper, or sorry, 2 signatures in our little mini album. So we want to make sure to fold on those creases really well, and you should end up with a hinge like this, a little U channel. So let's put that to the side. Next we have our inside cover pocket, and this measures 5 1/4 inches by 3 inches, and on the 5 1/4 inch side, we're going to go ahead and score it at 1/2 inch. We're going to do a 1/4 rotation, and then on the 3 inch side, also again at 1/2 inch, and 1 more 1/4 rotation, so that we score it again at 1/2 inch. So now we have our 3 lines there. We're going to take our scissors, and we're going to go ahead and cut out those little squares that have been created by the intersecting score lines, and this way we're going to be able to fold over the sides, the 2 opposite sides, and then fold up the bottom, and that's going to create our little pocket. So now we have our hinge. I'm going to go ahead and start stacking these things, then our inside pocket. Okay, next we need a sheet of cardstock that measures 8 inches by 6 inches. This is our first page, and with the 8 inches at the top, we're going to go ahead and score that at 4 inches, right down the center, and this is going to create our first page. So that's going to go in our stack. Next we have our front flap, and this measures 8½ inches by 6 inches. With the 8½ inches at the top, we're going to go ahead and score that at 1/2 inch, and then 4½ inches. Okay, so you can go ahead and burnish those 2. And the little 1/2 inch flap is going to go the opposite direction of the other, so that ends up like a Z fold, like that. Okay, stack that in the pile. Next we need our second page. Again, this measures 8 inches by 6 inches. With the 8 inches at the top, we're going to score it at 4 inches. This way we can score that right in half. Okay, and then next we need our insert card, and this measures 11 inches by 3.5 inches. And on the 11-inch side, we're going to score this in half at 5.5 inches. 5.5 inches. Okay, just like that. Okay. Next, we need our back flap, and this measures 8.5 inches by 6 inches. Again, with the 8.5 inches at the top, we're going to go ahead and score it at 1/2 inch and 4.5 inches. Okay, just those two score lines. Score that like so, score that like so, and fold it back on itself. Okay, again, like a Z-fold. Okay, put that in our pile. Next, we're going to have our top flap side pocket. And this measures 12 inches wide by 3.5 inches. And what we're going to do with the 12 inches at the top is score this at 1/2 inch, 6 inches, and 11.5 inches. Okay, 1/2 inch, 6 inches, 11.5 inches. And we're going to go ahead and burnish all of these score lines. Okay, and what you need to do is have one that comes into the middle, that's going to create the pocket, and one that comes back for these 1/2 inch flaps. So in other words, you're going to have them both folded in the same direction, just like that. Okay. All right, now that's going to go in our stack as well. Next, we need our flap pocket insert, and this measures 10.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and what we're going to do is score this in half, right at 5.25 inches on the 10.5 inch side. So right in half, just like that. And lastly, we're going to have our back flap. Now this measures 12 inches by 4 inches tall, and with the 12-inch side at the top, we're going to go ahead and score that at 1/2 inch, 3 3/4 inches, 7 inches, 7 1/4 inches, and 10.5. Okay, one more time, that's 1/2 inch, 3 3/4, 7, 7 1/4, 10.5. Okay, and that is it for our scoring for this little mini album. And again, I'm just going to burnish all of those score lines. Like that. Now with this one, the 10.5 inch score line is going to get folded towards the front. Then you have that 1/4 inch gusset, and that rolls in as well, just like this. So it has the 1/4 inch right there. Okay, and then this last section on your left folds back, and this 1/2 inch piece is going to be adhered to the inside cover. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to bring back in my album, and then I'm also going to bring in my stack, and I'm just going to flip these over. Now, before we put our hinge piece down, if you want to put a decorative piece of paper underneath that, you can. I did not with my first album, and you can kind of see how it looks. It's kind of thin, so there's not very much space that's showing right there, so it doesn't bother me at all. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing, and I'm going to move on. If you're going to put your decorative paper and you still want to follow along, just go ahead and pause the video, and then you can come right back. So we're going to use glue on the bottom side, the flat piece of our hinge, and that way we don't have any glue on either hinge itself. And I'm just going to place this down, centering it top to bottom, left to right. Okay, eyeballing that. top to bottom, left to right, burnish it down really well, and then make sure that your flaps can actually turn still and we're not gluing those down, okay? So, just like so, okay? Next, we're going to have our little pocket that's going to go on the front cover right down here. So we're going to place glue on those side pieces, just like that. And then glue this down even with the bottom and the left-hand side, outside edge of our cover. And just like that, we have a pocket. Okay. Next, we have our first page. So we're going to go ahead and make sure to lay our hinges down flat. I'm going to go ahead and lay this in, flatten it out like so, and I'm keeping about 1/8 of an inch my paper away from that score line. Let's see if I can show you somehow. Okay, so right in here you have the score line of the flap, and I'm going to keep it about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of my paper here. Making sure to align the bottom of my page with the cover so that it's parallel. That way we know our page will be flat. Okay, and I'm going to hold this page still, and I'm just going to place glue just along the outside edge of my page. Okay, and then I can fold this flap down onto the page and give it a good burnish. Okay, just like that. Next, I'm going to place glue down on the flap itself, just like that, and along the bottom. Now, if you wanted to punch a notch in your page, you could go ahead and do that now. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and use a circle punch. On this one. So I grab me a little 1 inch circle, and I'm just going to place it in there like so. And then I'm going to close this up and burnish this down. Okay, just like that. Next, I'm going to take out of my stack this first flap, and I'm going to place glue on that 1/2 inch flap right there. And this is going to get glued down to the left-hand side of my first page. Okay, you should have even amount of space. Oh, let's not do that just yet. Boop, boop, boop. That was a close one. What I need to do is use my ribbon. So because I'm using this as a closure, I'm going to go ahead and place this down right there. I'm going to use some double-sided tape, just like that. I'll place that here as well. Hold that in place, okay? Now I can remove that double-sided tape, and let me glue this again. And now I can glue it down. Even with the right-hand side of the page. Okay. And then make sure that you burnish that really well. Okay. And that's going to be our flap. Just like that. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and just do, this is how I do it, a little knot here, a little bow tie. Okay, and that lets me figure out how long I need my ribbon to be. Okay, and then I will just snip the ends just like that. Okay. All right. That is our first page, but I do need my insert. In my stack, I'm going to move forward with my second page. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. Lay my page down here, open it up just near my hinge, but about 1/8 of an inch away. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that the bottom of my page is straight. I'm going to place glue along the edge of my page there, and that way I can fold down my hinge and burnish it. And then I can place glue on my hinge and along the bottom. And again, I'm going to go ahead and put a little notch in the top. No, I didn't measure. I just am eyeballing. Okay. Good, like that. All right. I'm going to open up this first page because I forgot to put our insert. So I'm going to place the insert down in there, just like that, and then close it back up. That was the next piece on the stack. Okay. So back to our second page. With our second page, we're going to flip it over to the back, and we're going to pick up our next flap here, place glue on that 1/2 inch hinge, and that 1/2 inch hinge is going to go to the left hand side on the back side of our second page. Make sure that you align it. I'm not using any ribbon on this one to hold it closed. Alright, so you're going to end up with this. Make sure that we burnish that really well. Okay. Next, you're going to have this pocket flap. Remember that we had both of the hinge pieces going the same direction. So the first one I'm going to place glue on. It's going to be here. And I'm going to go ahead and punch a hole in this as well, so I have a little thumb notch before I glue that down. Okay, so now I have a tube and it has a little flap on it, just like that. Okay, so I'm going to place glue inside of that tube piece, just ever so slightly at the edge, opposite of where I put the notch, the circle notch. Okay, and burnish that down. So now I have a pocket instead of a tube, and it still has this little 1/2 inch flap on it. So now I'm going to go ahead and place glue on that 1/2 inch flap, and that 1/2 inch flap is going to get glued down to the top of the the back side of page 2 flap. And I'm centering this left to right and making sure it's even with the top of my page, so that this will be able to fold up like so. So you can see I'm burnishing that down. Okay, so that goes just like so. Next, you should have your pocket insert. So this is going to go right here inside of this pocket, right there. And lastly, you should have this last piece, and this last piece has that 1/2 inch attachment flap. We're going to place glue on that, and that is going to get glued to the center of our back cover. and I am just eyeballing this top to bottom. Okay. And burnish that down. And what did I miss? The second page, I am missing another insert. So let me cut another insert card, and that should measure 3.5 inches by 11 inches. Let me grab that real quick. Okay, 3.5 inches by 11 inches, and I'm just going to simply fold that in half. So the score would have been at 5.5 inches. And this is going to get flapped right inside the pocket here, that second page. Okay, and now we have finished the little mini album. As cute as could be. The pocket here, a flap that's going to come out like so. Now this last piece here, you need to put your decorative paper down first, and then you can place glue here and here, and fold this in, and that becomes a little tuck spot. Okay, and that is it for the tutorial on the little mini album. So let's go ahead and get started with the micro mini album tutorial, and that again is going to start with the 2 pieces of chipboard. Okay, for the front and back cover, and those measure 3¼ inches by 4¼ inches. Okay, so you need 2 of those, and then you need 1 spine piece that measures 1 3/8 inches wide by 4¼ inches tall. And then for the cardstock, you need 2 pieces that measure 5¼ inches by 6¼ inches. That way you have 1 inch all the way around. And then for the for the spine piece, you need 1 piece that measures 4 3/8 inches wide by 6¼ inches tall. Okay, so go ahead and center those up. Again, I'm using the lay flat method, so I will be right back. Okay, I have my little micro mini together, and so now I'm going to grab my inside cover. This measures 4 inches by 4 1/8 inches, and there. Okay, so I'm going to place my glue down in the center, and the measurement is 4 1/8 inches tall. So basically just 1/8 of an inch shorter than my cover itself. Let me burnish down on either side. Peel back those wings and glue that down. And do exactly the same thing with the other side. And then I'm going to grab my scoreboard, and I'm going to go ahead and start scoring my papers. Alright, so that's my little micro mini album cover. So let's bring in the scoreboard, and we're going to start again with our hinge piece. And this measures 1.5 inches wide by 4 inches tall, and we're going to go ahead and score that at 1/2 inch and 1 inch, and that is on the 1.5 inch side. So again, we're going to burnish both of those hinges. Okay, and set that off to the side. Next, we're going to have a piece that measures 2 inches wide by 4 1/8 inch in length, and this is going to be our front cover. So with the 2 inches at the top, we're going to score that at 1/2 inch. We're going to rotate it. We're going to have the 4 1/8 inch at the top, and we're going to score that at 1/2 inch. We're going to rotate it all the way around and score it again at 1/2 inch. So that way we have our pocket piece. So we're going to have the corners that we need to cut out. That is the intersection that's formed by those score lines. Let's see if you can see that. I know it's hard on the black paper, but let's see. Fold over those two sides and then burnish what's going to be the bottom of the pocket, just like that, and set that in our pile. Okay, next we're going to have our front cover, our first page, and this measures 6 inches by 4 inches. With the 6 inches at the top, we're going to score that at 1/2 inch. And I'm going to go ahead and place a pencil mark at the 4.5 inch mark on the top there. And that's going to give me a nice clean spot to go ahead and center my circle punch up just like that. Okay, and this is going to make my pocket page. That means the pocket is going to be on the back side. If we want to have it on both sides, then I just line up my circle punch with the first cut that I made, and now I have that notch all the way through. Okay, let me put that on our pile. Next, we're going to move to the flap. The flap measures 3 1/4 inches by 4 inches, and with the 3 1/4 inches at the top, you're going to score that at 1/2 inch. Burnish that one score line. Okay. Next, you're going to have page number 2. Same measurements as the last. You're going to have 6 inches at the top of your scoreboard, 4 inches at the side, and we're going to go ahead and score that at 3 inches. And again, I'm going to place a little notch at the 4.5 inch mark for my circle punch. Just like that. Go ahead and burnish that score line, and then go ahead and use that circle punch again, line it up with the first one, and just notch that out. Okay, that's our second page. Next we have our little insert for the second page. This measures 2.5 inches by 4 inches, and we don't have any scoring on that. Last we have another flap, and this measures 3 1/4 inches by 4 inches, and with the 3/4 inches at 3 1/4 inches at the top, we're going to score that at 1/2 inch. Okay, just like that. And then lastly, we have our back cover pocket. This measures 4 1/8 inch by 2 inches. And with the 4 1/8 inch at the top, we're going to score it at 1/2 inch. We're going to rotate a 1/4 turn. So you have the 2 inches at the top, and we're going to score that at 1/2 inch. And rotate it one more time, and score it last time at 1/2 inch. We're done with the scoreboard. And again, with the pocket, we created those corners that we need to just cut out, just like that. Okay, fold over the sides, fold up the bottom, give that a good burnish, and that is our back pocket. So let's pull in our little micro mini album. Okay. And we're going to start with that back pocket. That's going to go right here on the outside cover. So I'm going to grab my glue and place some glue on those sides and the bottom. Burnish that down. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and take my pile and flip it over. And again, just like the last one, if you want to put decorative paper on your spine piece before you put your hinge, now is the time to do that. And I think I'm going to leave it off on this one as well. So if you want to put decorative paper, you can make sure to pause the video and then come right back. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and eyeball center this again. Just like that. Burnish it down. Make sure your flaps can actually flap back and forth. Okay. And then we're going to start with our first page. Our first page, same as that other mini album we just finished. I'm going to open it up and lay it down about 1/8 of an inch away from the first hinge and place glue along the edge, and then go ahead and fold that hinge over and burnish it down. That's going to attach the page, and then I'm going to put glue down the side and along the bottom. And just like that, I'm going to burnish, and that creates my pocket page. Okay. Next I have an inside cover pocket. I'm going to go ahead and glue that in. So place glue on all of those flaps, and then just align that with the bottom and with the outside. All right. Okay, next we have our flap. This is going to go on the back side of our front page. So I'm going to flip my page over, and this 1/2 inch flap that we're going to place glue on is going to get lined with the left hand side. Oop, almost did it again, Nicole. I need my ribbon closure. So I'm going to place my ribbon down. Get my double-sided tape. Oopsie. And my ribbon down here. All right, back at it. Just place the glue. And now I can line it up. Hold the side and the bottom. Did I do that right? Oh, I think I measured that one wrong. Yeah, I think yeah, don't place that down yet. Put my double-sided tape back on. We're going to cut that one over again because that is wrong. Did I do them both the same way? I sure did. Okay, let's put our second page on. Place this down. About 1/8 of an inch away from the flap. Place glue along the edge there. Push that hinge down. And I can place glue along that hinge and along the bottom. All right, now we have that second page. Okay, I'm going to go back to the first page. I'm going to remove the double-sided backing from the right-hand side. And this piece that I've already tried putting down twice now, I'm going to actually put down on the right-hand side. Just like that. Okay. Just place that over to the side for now. On the back side of the second page, we're going to do exactly the same thing over here. I have run out of my ribbon because I've made 4 of these now. So I'm going to use this ribbon instead. Okay. Remove the backing from the right hand side. And let's go ahead and place glue on this flap. Align this with the left hand side of our page. Okay. And this piece we have left is an insert for the pocket page. For the pocket, I guess I should say. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have put notches in both sides. Okay, lesson learned. Good grief. I'm gonna fight with it. Help if you get it straight. Okay. All right, now I need 2 more pieces cut because I'm missing this flap on the back side of both of these. So let's cut 2 more pieces that measure 3 inches by 4 inches. Let me get those and I'll be right back. All right. For those 2 pieces, you're going to put them in your scoreboard with the 3 inches at the top, and we're going to go ahead and score it at 1/2 inch. It's going to be the same for both of them. Okay. We can burnish these. And this, oops, get sticky. Open up this back flap. What's it going to do? What's it going to do? I'm going to glue the inside of this 1/2 inch flap. Okay. And I'm going to glue this onto here and fold it over and burnish it down. So I will add this also to the back of the first page. But now I can put my ribbon tie. Just like that. Okay. And same thing on here, the back of my first page flap. So place glue there, put it down underneath the flap, fold it over, burnish it down. So you end up with this, okay? And that way, now I can put my tie closure here. Just like that. These. All right. And lastly, we need our little insert that goes in our front pocket. And where did this go? Let's see, it measures 2.5 inches wide by 8 inches, just under 8 inches, and that will go right there. So yeah, it works a lot better if you only put a notch in one side. It makes it easier to get in and out. So let me grab that, 2.5 by just under 8 inches. So I cut it at 7 7/8 inches by 2.5. Okay, so that's what I mean by just under. And folded it right in half, and this is going to be my insert for that first pocket page. It goes right in there. After you work it a bit, it'll be easier to get it in and out, or you can do a flap if you want, part of it in the pocket, part of it out of the pocket. That's up to you. But that is our little micro mini album, and I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial so that you can make your own little bookshelf and albums that go with it. The last thing I wanted to show you and share with you is this fun little fold. And what you need for this is one sheet of double-sided paper is best, but you can use single-sided if you like. And this needs to measure 10 inches. All right, so 12 inches wide, 10 inches tall. I'm going to go ahead and turn this to the side so that the 10 inches is at the top. And I'm going to go ahead and fold this over. Let me put it on my grid mat. Okay, so that I am 1 inch down from the top. I'm going to go ahead and burnish this. Okay, just like that. Okay. Then I'm going to turn this over so that I have the bottom of the triangle down here, and I have the two mountain peaks at the top. Let me get in frame. Okay. And I'm going to fold this back just like so. Let me see. You can make this however wide you want to make it, but I'm going to do it like this. Okay. And then this piece can fold back on itself. So I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to pull it in like this so that I have the bottom corner over here in line with this edge. And I'm going to burnish that. Okay. This little piece is going to get folded under just like so. And this little piece is going to get folded around, burnish, and then tuck it underneath and burnish. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and place glue here and along the bottom. And that's going to make a fun pocket here. Burnish this. Okay, I'll put it back up. Let's do the other side here and along the bottom. Burnish that. Let that glue catch. And now all I did was cut off the top, and you can use your trimmer, or you can use your, if it's too thick, you can use your scissors, either way. Let's say that we do this. And I'm just going to use my straight edge and trim that off. Just like that. And now you have a pocket, multiple pockets, okay? So we have multiple spots to put fun little embellishment items. The difference that I did with this one is that I didn't glue it shut, so I put a little hole here with an eyelet, and then I wrapped the ribbon around, and then I used this like so, okay? So that I wrapped it around like this. My first one came down like this, and then I wrapped it around inside, okay? And then I wrapped it this way as well. So you can fold these different ways to make fun little pockets. and a really cute way to give a gift card or give a card, you know, a different type of envelope style. So I hope that you have enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing your projects. Make sure you post pictures on Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations. Remember, I have links, affiliate links to all the goodies that I've used here for this project down below. And I hope to see you back here next time, everybody. Until next time, happy scrapping, you all. Goodbye.